Have you ever stopped to think about the digital shadow you cast? Every single click, every message, every search, it all creates this trail of digital breadcrumbs. And when a crime is committed, well, that shadow can become the most important piece of the whole puzzle. Because today, let's be real, almost every crime scene is also a digital crime scene. And investigators need a special kind of magnifying glass to follow those clues. So what is this world called? It's called digital forensics. It's all about the science of recovering and analyzing data from devices to investigate crimes. And the goal isn't just about finding clues, It's about finding evidence that can actually stand up in court, all while making sure not a single bit of that original data gets changed. All right, so here's our game plan for this investigation. We're going to start at the digital crime scene, grab our investigator's toolkit, open up the case file, and then, the fun part, we'll follow the digital breadcrumbs. After that, we'll see how it all comes together in a final report and take a peek at what the future holds for this whole field.
Okay, first things first, we have to understand the crime scene itself. We're not just talking about fingerprints on a doorknob anymore. We're talking about these invisible layers of data that can literally make or break a case. Think about it. In our world, data isn't just information, it's pretty much currency. And that means criminals leave digital footprints absolutely everywhere. So, an investigator's job is to recover every single one of them, from emails and search histories to those files a suspect was so sure they'd deleted for good, and use them to piece together the truth.
So how in the world do they sift through all of that data? Well, you need the right tools. So let's crack open the toolkit and look at a primary weapon in any digital detective's arsenal, a program called Autopsy.
So, what makes Autopsy the go-to tool for so many people? Well, for starters, it's open source and totally free, which makes it accessible to just about anyone. But its real magic is how it's simple enough for beginners, but has all the deep features a seasoned pro needs. It can chew through data from almost any device, and it's constantly being updated and improved by a whole community of developers around the globe.
Okay, we've got our tool. Now it's time to open the case file. And this first step is super meticulous for a very good reason. This isn't just about paperwork. It's about creating a completely unbreachable seal around the evidence to protect its integrity.
The whole process is incredibly systematic. First, you create a new case to log every single detail. Then, and this is super important, you add the evidence. But you never, ever work on the original device. You work on a perfect digital copy called a disk image. Finally, you let Autopsy loose. Its automated ingest modules get to work, basically like a team of digital bloodhounds, sniffing out all the initial clues.
All right, the case is open, the data is loaded. This is where the hunt really begins. It's time to follow that trail of digital breadcrumbs and uncover the story that's hiding in all those ones and zeros. You know, a classic mistake criminals make is thinking that the delete key is some kind of digital shredder. It's not. Hitting delete just tells the computer that space is now available to be written over later. Autopsy uses this really cool technique called file carving to scan that empty space and literally piece deleted files back together, pulling crucial evidence back from the digital grave.
Okay, so that's a computer's hard drive. But what about that supercomputer that we all carry around in our pockets? Can an investigator see what a suspect was doing on their smartphone? Oh, absolutely. This slide is a perfect example of translation. See, a computer doesn't see Sunday at 9:31 a.m. It just sees a really long string of numbers called a Unix timestamp. One of the most critical things Autopsy does is turn that raw machine language into plain English that a jury can actually understand.
And it goes even deeper. By digging into the phone's database files, investigators can pull out pretty much everything. Call logs, contact lists, and even entire text message conversations. I mean, look at this. We're seeing actual messages pulled from a device sent by a contact ominously named Mr. Evil.
So we've got calls and texts. That's great. But what about the key to the whole kingdom? The password to unlock the phone itself? Well, that kind of secret is often buried deep, deep within the phone's most obscure system files. A skilled investigator knows to look in places the average person doesn't even know exist. The key to the entire case could be hiding in a file named something like settings.db, just a boring-sounding database that holds a complete treasure trove of data.
And boom, there it is, the big eureka moment. This quote from an actual analysis shows that discovery, deep inside that settings file, right next to the label lockscreen_password_type, is the actual password. Just sitting there, stored in plain text. That is a game-changing piece of evidence.
And check out the level of detail here. Right next to that critical password, investigators found the screen brightness setting. It was set to 142. Now that sounds like a totally random detail, right? But it just proves that on a digital device, absolutely nothing goes unrecorded. Everything is potentially recoverable.
So the investigator has recovered passwords, deleted files, suspicious text messages, but a big pile of digital clues doesn't solve a case. Now comes the final critical step, turning all those digital artifacts into a story that actually makes sense.
This is really where Autopsy helps build the narrative. It organizes every single artifact into these neat categories. And suddenly, you can see a suspect's web history, showing they researched how to bypass a security system. You can see the programs they installed, maybe some encryption software, and you can see their geolocation data, placing them right at the scene of the crime. Each artifact is a dot, and Autopsy helps connect them all into one clear picture.
And for the grand finale, you package it all up. With just a few clicks, Autopsy compiles all the tagged evidence and the analysis into a professional report. This document becomes the official record, the complete story of the crime, all ready to be presented in court.
Now, this technology is incredibly powerful, but it's just one side of this constant, evolving cat-and-mouse game. So what's next in the battle between digital detectives and cybercriminals?
Well, the game is definitely getting harder. Criminals are using way stronger encryption and tools like VPNs to try and vanish without a trace. The sheer amount of data on any given device these days is just staggering. And now AI has entered the battlefield, used by criminals for sophisticated attacks and by investigators to find the patterns hidden inside them.
So what's the bottom line here? It's this. In a world that is drowning in data, forensic tools like Autopsy are no longer just helpful. They are absolutely essential. They are the instruments that let investigators cut through all the digital noise, find the truth that's hidden in the code, and build the story that solves crimes and delivers justice.
And that leaves us with one final and really critical question. Our entire lives, our conversations, our locations, our secrets, they all live on these devices. And as the tools to dissect them become more and more powerful, we are all forced to ask ourselves, where do we draw the line between security and privacy? And who gets to hold the pen?